In this tutorial, we will learn how to master conditions in a drag-and-drop game using PandaSuite. We are going to create a mini-game in which the user must identify the 3 animals that live in the forest and place them correctly on the 3 designated areas. The animals to be found are the snail, the fox, and the deer. Each time an animal is placed correctly, the area turns green, and if there is a mistake, it turns red. A success pop-up appears once all 3 correct answers have been given. Before starting on the logic, I designed the game interface using drag-and-drop components for the animals and created the first drop zone. I also prepared the success pop-up. Specifically, my animals are placed inside a drag-and-drop component, and for each one, I enabled the movable option. For my drop zone, I used another drag-and-drop component, which is not movable, but is a drop zone that contains a maximum of 1 draggable element and on which can be placed all the animals that I prepared. Inside this drag-and-drop component, there is a multi-state component that contains 3 states, allowing you to define the user's success or failure depending on their choice. The first state is a neutral state, the second state is a success state with a green background, and the third state is a red background that symbolizes an incorrect answer. All the animals can be dropped onto each area, as I mentioned to you. The first step will be to display a visual reaction depending on the answer. Specifically, we will automatically change the state of the multi-state area based on the animal that is dropped. To do this, I will add a condition component that will evaluate the situation in real time. Let's go inside the drag-and-drop component and create this condition component within it. This will allow me, for the other areas, to simply duplicate this component, and all the elements inside it will be automatically duplicated as well. I am adding a conditions component, which will be configured with 3 conditions in auto-evaluation mode. The first condition will be if Zone 1 is a success, meaning if it contains one of the 3 correct animals. The second condition will be if it is empty or if it contains an unknown item. And the third condition will be the case of failure if the zone meets neither the success condition nor the empty condition. To set this up, I will add my first condition to the component. This first condition will be success, so it is in auto-evaluation mode. To define it, I will select my component, draggable, and I will choose the item draggable, dropped. This one must contain one of the 3 animals. First, I will choose the deer and do the same with the other 2 correct answers. The first condition has been created. Now I will create the second one that relates to the empty state in auto-evaluation mode. In this case, this drag-and-drop component is unknown or empty. I will create my third condition, which corresponds to failure. And to avoid having to recreate and select all the animals, what I will do is base it on the previous conditions, and I will simply say that they are not met. Let's choose the first one. Zone 1 empty is false, and I will do the same with Zone 1 success. is false. Now that my 3 conditions have been set up, I will link each condition to the corresponding state of the multi-state component. If it succeeds, show state 2, the green state. If it fails, show state 3, the red state. If empty or unknown, show the neutral state. I go to the actions, and each time I will select the corresponding condition. So, if it's empty, I will select and choose my multi-state component and display the first state. If it's a failure, change to state 3. And if it's a success, state number 2. Let's save my project and test it to make sure it works properly. If it's a failure, it switches to the red state. By default, I go back to a gray state, which corresponds to an empty state. And in the case of a correct answer, it switches to a green background. Let's test it with all the correct answers. So, we have a conditional component that properly checks the animal and displays the correct state. Now, I am going to duplicate this zone. I will duplicate this first component twice to create zones 2 and 3. I select my draggable component that contains everything. I will copy and paste it to create my 2 other areas. I strongly encourage you to thoughtfully rename the elements inside your project. Although this isn't an absolutely essential action that will directly impact your setup, it's something that will definitely help you find your way around much more easily in your project, especially if you ever encounter any unexpected behaviors or issues. This way, you can always check that everything has been properly configured and that you don't end up with duplicates or small mistakes. I test it again to make sure each area responds as expected. In Zone 1, all is fine. In Zone 2, it's correct, and in Zone 3, it's perfect as well. As a final step, I now want the success pop-up to appear when all 3 animals have been properly placed. Success is when all 3 zones display the green background, that is state 2 of their multi-state component. Let's add another condition component directly in the screen. This condition component will be set up as a condition called All Animals Are Success, which will specifically and carefully check the index of each individual multi-state. Knowing that the state corresponding to the success state is state number 2, the index is index number 1. So you're going to create this condition. All animals are success, which, like all the others, is evaluated automatically and will rely on multi-state components. This is the smartest way. And I do the same for the third zone multi-state component whose index is equal to 1. Now let's create the action. If this specific condition is met, let's add the action that triggers the opening of the pop-up window. I then proceed to save all my changes carefully. After saving, I then preview the setup to ensure that everything is functioning correctly and as intended. My pop-up launches automatically. Now, create a final action to remove draggable elements as the pop-up appears. This lets me finish the game experience. Use the opening triggering event of the pop-up so that this action takes place in the background while the pop-up is open. So, when the pop-up opens, I will interact with the component, select my drop area, and remove all the draggables. I do the same with the second zone and the third zone. There you go. I'm ready to play again. This mini game is one example that lets you use conditions and drag and drop with PandaSuite. Our no-code platform offers you endless possibilities to gamify and create your own custom interactive experiences. The link to this template is available directly and for free in the description of the YouTube video. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like it. See you soon.